I get that a lot, but I'm going to argue that no, critical theory is very much present within the evangelical church among professing evangelicals. I'm going to show you some pictures. I'm not naming any names. 0 names are involved in these slides, okay? I list their social media footprint, I list like where they've written articles for, but these are prominent figures. And now that we've talked about critical theory, you'll see where it shows up in their statements. So look at one. Here's an article by an author who's a professor at Divinity School. She has 20,000 Twitter followers, very well known. She's written for Christianity Today, pretty major magazine. And she talks about how the world's divided into privileged people and oppressed people, right? And if you're part of a privileged group, you have lost your right to the prophetic megaphone because you can't be a prophet and an oppressor at the same time. Think about that. Remember, she thinks that men are a privileged, she says that men are a privileged group. So you cannot be a prophet and oppressor if you're part of an oppressor group, but men are all oppressors. So can men not speak prophetically anymore because they're part of an oppressor group? But this, clearly that's false, number one, but number two, that's critical theory that she's using to make these claims. Here's a major Christian racial reconciliation group. It has a list of rules for white people, not for black people or Hispanic people or for half Indian people like me, but for white people only who are involved in racial reconciliation. Here are their rules for white people. They include provide space for people of color to wail, cuss, or even yell at you. This is a Christian racial reconciliation group. Should Christians be cussing at each other and not because like the person is being nasty, but because you're a white person, so I can cuss and yell at you. I'm a person of color. That's not how God's law works, people, right? You don't get to cuss at people, other Christians, because you're one color and they're another color. That's not okay. No Christian should be cussing and yelling at another Christian. Right? Do we all agree on that? Is that cool? Like no one should be yelling and screaming, and right? But and why is there an asymmetry there? Critical theory. Okay. Here's another one. This is from an author who has written for the ERLC website. It's a Southern Baptist Convention's Ethics and Religious Liberty website, very conservative website. This author's written for USA Today. She has 5,000 Twitter followers. She talks about systems of oppression and supremacy. So what are some systems of oppression and supremacy? She lists them. Male privilege, abled privilege, cis hetero privilege, citizenship status privilege, and so on. On this webpage of hers, she's recommending children's books for children ages 5 through 8 about how to raise woke children, okay? Now that's actually the title of her page until she realized it was cultural appropriation, in which case they changed the title to something else. But originally it was woke parenting. Guys, that's not a joke, I'm dead serious. Anyway, what are the books she lists on her website for kids ages 5 through 8? These are like board books, alphabet books, okay? In this list of books, she includes books about the civil rights movement, slavery, women's suffrage, and also books like A is for Activist, which includes this line, LGBTQ, love who you choose, because love is true, right? Or T is for true, tulip, tassels, tigers, tractors and tiaras, trust in the true, the he, she, they that is you. Now, why would civil rights movement and the LGBTQ act, and Pride, the story of Harvey Milk and the Rainbow Flag, that's another book that she recommends. Why would those books all be on the same recommended list? Well, she says why. Because racism, sexism, cis hetero privilege, citizenship status privilege, these are all forms of oppression. That's critical theory. Here's one. This is an author who went to an evangelical seminary, conservative seminary. He's written for conservative evangelical websites. I won't name. He tweets, "The Bible is written from the lens of the marginalized. If you come from a group or community that is not historically marginalized, you need these voices and perspectives in your life, or else your understanding of the Word, the gospel, and the Christian life will be thin and weak." Think carefully about what he's saying. Was Martin Luther's grasp of the Word, the gospel, and the Christian life thin and weak because he was a white European male? What about Calvin, Zwingli's, Spurgeon's, David Martin Lloyd-Jones? Were all these people, they have a weak grasp of the gospel and the Word because They were not in dialogue with minority, underprivileged groups. Now, why would he think that? Well, remember, oppressed people have special access to truths that are unavailable to oppressors. So on the view of critical theory, that's exactly right. Is it true biblically? If you go to someone and say, here's the Bible, read it and learn from it, well, they can't really grasp it unless they have the input of oppressed groups. Says who? I thought John says you do not need anyone to teach you because God's Spirit abides in you and he will teach you. Jesus sent the counselor to instruct us into all truth. Right? That's not what he's saying. He's promoting the view of critical theory. Here's a great one. This is a tweet. This guy has almost 100,000 Twitter followers, popular evangelical pastor. As white men move from an entitled majority and our country is increasingly led by women and people of color, a future without nuclear weapons feels within reach. A world where the weapons of colonialism and subjugation are confined to museums seems plausible. Help us, Lord. Guys, I'm half Indian here. I can say this. I'm half Indian. I got some sad news for you guys. Brown people have nuclear weapons. Brown people have nuclear weapons. I'm sorry, guys. My ancestors were smart enough to develop nuclear weapons. And on occasion, non-whites have actually engaged in colonialism and built empires and murdered millions of people once in a while, right? Genghis Khan, a little bit. But look at that. That is moral asymmetry. Question: who is more sinful, men or women? Who is more depraved, whites or non-whites? Right? Who has sin deep in their hearts? What group? Everyone. Thank you.